Welcome to the Drive to Success podcast, where we go beyond the titles and achievements to really find out what fuels high-performing professionals. Beyond the breakthroughs, the success, the mindsets, the habits, we want to really know what drives people to success. And today, I'm with my co-host, Alif Hamdan.
Hello, thanks for having me, Jace.
Yeah, it's, life is just full circle from the beginning of our relationship till now. Fun fact, we were actually trainer and client first, and he was my first ever client, believe it or not. That was what,
15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, man.
Something like that.
It's been a decade full swing. I still remember being mesmerized that, hey, my first ever client was a professional race car driver.
Not a bad CVA.
Yeah. So today, as we are starting this podcast, I think it's only befitting that we're here to start off with his amazing career. I mean, come on, I don't really know that many professional racers as someone as I've gone now so far. But one thing I'm sure of is that working with him as a trainer is that sort of drive to go all in into things is something that I want to basically crack your head and see what's the contents that allow you to be where you are today, right? So maybe you can tell me a bit about like what was the beginning? How was your childhood like?
Well, I guess it comes down to the long drive from Ipoh to KL. I mean, we used to drive Ipoh to KL a lot because Dad used to work in KL and we were based in Ipoh, so we used to go up and down most of the time. It was the very beginning of the North-South Highway. So as you can imagine, when it just opened up, there wasn't that many users because a lot of people primarily use the old roads. So Dad was accustomed at sitting at very high speeds, and I got used to high speeds from a young age, and I didn't think it was. I thought everybody did it, that type of thing. You know what I mean? So the being very comfortable around speed at a young age, that sort of, I guess, led me to where I ended up.
I see. But when did you decided that you wanted to be like a professional racer?
Quite young, maybe at the age of 7 or 8. My cousin back then, he ran a go-kart business. It was next to the Stadium Perak. If you vaguely remember.
I vaguely remember that.
So that's kind of how it started. Not knowing I had any skills, I just jumped on it to have fun.
Right.
And then realizing that I was basically as fast as any one of the older guys that were on the carts.
How young were you there?
I was 7 or 8. And untrained, I was already naturally very fast on the kart. So that kind of led me wanting to do racing.
I see. Yeah. But being in an Asian family, was there any resistance to becoming a professional racer?
100%, for sure. Had a typical Asian response. I mean, Mom and Dad was like, after you get your degree, and then we can come and talk about this racing thing.
Okay.
So I think I showed interest quite young, but I got shut down quite young as well.
I see.
Yeah.
So, but when was the time whereby you say, okay, I'm going to commit to this? Like, was there like a negotiation with your parents, or was it something that you jumped into it first? What's the story behind that?
So originally the promise was to get the degree and then we could have the conversation. Right. So while I was a student in Melbourne, Australia, 2008, they bought me a car. It was a Passat R36 sedan. Then it was basically the fastest performance car at the time that I could buy because I was on a P-plater. And back in 2008 in Victoria, Australia, everybody had to abide to a power to weight ratio when you're on a P-plate. So that was one of the fastest cars that I could get with that restriction.
I see.
So we went for that car, and I think later on I went to a workshop that was owned by a race driver, a late race driver, the late Peter Fitzgerald. So he was an Australian racing driver. I didn't know, so I went to a workshop that I got recommended. Right. Found out the owner was a race driver. Next minute he brought me to a track day, and that was it. That was over.
You got hooked over there.
Yeah, I got hooked really bad. Right. Yeah.
So what's the reality of being a racer or a professional racer? Is it something that from what I know, it requires a lot of funding in order to be a racer? But of course, we have people like Hamilton, people who grew up perhaps not the most financially well off, but end up becoming the greats.
Yeah.
So do you need to be rich in order to, or require a lot of funding in order to start racing?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, if being able to pull the funding one way or the other is definitely a key part of it. How I found out is through the track days when I was in uni. Going and doing the track days, I found out that a European sedan wasn't exactly made for the racetrack per se. So that's when I realized there were probably better candidates, and me being young, I quickly sold that car, got something a bit more track suited and at half the price of what that car was, so I had budget to go and do my own racing, that type of thing. So that's the early days of realizing, oh, this actually costs a bit and you need some more funding. Yeah.
I see. Well, aside from funding, I mean, of course, it can't be all just money, right? So obviously, what does it take to be, I wouldn't say good, but a great racer?
It's basically being able to like commit yourself to the profession and having a network of people to be able to support you during that time, because a lot of people don't realize most often than not, this journey, everybody starts it quite young. Like your typical race driver there gets sent to go racing by themselves at probably like 14, 15 years old. And by the time they sort of get picked up or looking at a factory drive, that's like at the ages of normally 18 to 21. So you can imagine 5 years going around by yourself. So it ages you quickly.
Yeah, I see. You have to mature up quickly, right?
Yeah.
And you'll be in a way for your family a lot because you're like traveling from place to place.
Yeah. And we work during the weekends. Every race is a weekend. So growing up, being a bit of a social outcast because all the partying, all the clubbing happens on the weekend when you're going to the office.
Right.
And you're going to miss most of the things.
Right.
The other thing was you're going to probably miss a lot of the family social events like weddings, funerals. Right. You know what I mean? Because you're away, you're sometimes in Europe, you're sometimes in Asia. Something happens, you can't really stop what you're doing.
These are the unseen sacrifices that you have to put through in order to be a professional racer.
Yeah, I mean, it's what life throws at you when you're trying to achieve something, right? So, yeah.
Can you give me like an example of like what your schedule is like in terms of like, people always think about, hey, it's just racing, but what's this training look like for a professional racer?
Training is a lot of aerobic and mental exercises, aerobic capacity, because you're always doing between 1 to 3 hour stints in the car. So having to be able to commit to the high G's for that long. And a lot of people don't realize is when you're raced in Asia, it is extremely hot.
Right.
The cars get to about 65, 70 Celsius degrees within 2 laps.
Right.
And there you stay for 3 hours. So you can imagine a lot of sweat, a lot of water you lose.
So I think a lot of people don't know this because I asked you the other day, which was like in those long races, like what do you do if you like go to pee?
No.
go to the toilet?
Yeah. So luckily we have what is it called? Adrenaline. So basically adrenaline, when it takes over you, you can't basically feel your headache or if you're sick or if you need to pee or poop. So so what hurts you is if suddenly mid-race safety car comes out for whatever reason and everything slows down, then you remember, I need to pee, I need to whatever. So as long as you're fully committed and concentrating, you don't really feel what your bodily fluids needs to be done unless you're like off it, safety car, you're not driving fast. That's when everything seeps in.
But what if you have to drink? If you're thirsty?
So it depends on the level of racing. So towards the lower tier of racing and touring cars, only the big budget teams would have a drink system in the car.
I see.
But when you go up through the ranks of GT4, GT3, on the steering wheel there'll be a button saying drink, and that would just deliver you water.
I see. So another question I ask is like, when everything's on the line, like take me into your mind when you're racing. I remember something like, it was an interview with Senna, whereby he's speaking about how it feels like being in the flow, into that state whereby it's like pure focus, nothing else matters. But at the same time, like I can't fathom that because you're driving at that sort of like superhuman speeds, right? And at the same time, there's a lot of pressure, like the team is, like you carry people's expectations, your own expectations, the pressure. Like how does it actually feel like being in a race itself?
Well, it's like everything else. It just depends on how you handle the pressure. So the way I was taught is when we're in the car, we're pushing hard. It's you fall into a tempo, a rhythm. So for example, when you're racing Sepang, there are 15 corners. In those 15 corners, you're probably braking and downshifting on 9 of those corners.
Yeah.
So it's understanding like how many gear shifts and how many, and it's kind of like a tempo or a dance, and you sort of just get the flow of things into it. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is you'll have telecommunications in the car, so the team will be telling you if you need to push and go faster, if you need to hand back, all depending on what the other cars are doing around you. So all these strategies come into play when it's an endurance race.
Right.
Because sometimes you don't want to all-out speed because you'll be burning too much fuel.
Right.
So things like that, we rely on communications and the teams to be telling us the pace that we've been running at the time.
So that's more like on like what's going on, what's it like being in the cockpit itself. But in terms of like mentally, how do you deal with that pressure?
It's, I guess, whatever every day that we're doing gym when we're not at the racetrack, me and my driver coach Earl Bamber at the time, he would be playing mental games with me. He would be, challenging me as he sees me getting tired on the 40, 50-minute mark, and we're cycling for an hour. That last 10 minutes, he'll be saying things like, maybe I have a rival's name. He'll be like, hey, he's catching up to you, man. You're not going to let that happen. So it's just employing different mental strategies to get you through that last bit.
Right.
So yeah, this is basically it. Just playing mental games with yourself to get through the hard bits.
I see. So the next bit would be the defining moments in your career. Like, was there perhaps a certain race that was a career-defining moment for you? Was there like perhaps certain setbacks of challenges that, it will be like saying core memories?
Yeah.
Right? For your career.
Yeah. I'd say there'll be like 2 instances. The first one will be my first year of racing. That would be 2013. 0 experience and straight away into a Porsche Cup car.
Yeah.
We did World Time Attack 2 years in a row beforehand, but it's in a Mitsubishi Evo 800 horsepower 4-wheel drive car. This was a full-blown GT rear-wheel drive car, homologated race spec, everything. So everything was very different. It was one of those cases where you jump in the deep end of the pool. It's either you sink or you swim.
Right.
That type of thing. So I remember in that first race, talking to the other drivers who've been doing this for 10, 15 years.
Right.
Some of them have never been on the podium. And they're still hunting after 10, 15 years.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So knowing that, I didn't have much expectation to myself on the first race.
Right.
But luckily enough, that first race, we finished 3rd.
Ah.
So straight away, my first race, I podium.
You podium?
I podium my first race. So beginner's luck or whatever you want to call it. But that sort of egged me on to want more of that.
Right.
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 And then I would say the second one was in that first year, but the last race of the season, the one time we got invited to race in Macau. So when we raced in Macau, it's at that time, every other year, someone passes away because it's so dangerous, the racetrack. Yeah. So knowing that fact, then that first year of racing, it was dry all season. When it came to Macau, it was raining at the world's most dangerous circuit.
Yeah. So
that was something definitely memorable. I even remember looking at my dad at the starting grid and be like, Pa, are you sure we're ready for this? I asked him. Yeah. And he looked at me, he was like, son, you wanted this, get on with it.
How was your father towards your racing career? Will you say that it was a big part of your career?
No, 100%. It wouldn't have happened without him helping me out and egging me on during the hard bits.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. So it's kind of like how some people know golfer Tiger Woods. His dad was instrumental in him getting so good in the younger years. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say my dad had similar things. So he wasn't my coach per se, but he got me one of the best coaches, Earl Bamber,
Yeah.
At the time. So he definitely was crucial in selecting the right people to help me along the way.
What is your favorite memory of you and your dad in your racing career? Was there any?
Yeah, I can give a censored version.
Censored version.
So after the race,
Right.
the most dangerous race and the one time in that year that we raced in the wet, I
Right.
won first place.
Ah,
Again, fluked it completely. So Dad was really happy. That night we went to dinner. A couple of guys invited us out to Macau for dinner, and we went out partying with my dad across Macau.
wow.
So that was definitely a core memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, in terms of, so far we heard about the successes, right? But have you had setbacks or failures? Were you deemed failures in your career?
I don't know if it was a failure, but it was both the furthest I've got in motorsports, my most memorable time, and also the most disappointing time at the same time.
Right.
So this was 2014. I qualified to be one of the, so every year, Porsche will pick a driver 25 years and younger across all their championships. So
Right.
that's like 9 or 10 Carrera Cup championships around the world. So basically they pick the fastest guy leading the championship after the halfway mark, under 25. So every championship sent one guy. In Asia, that was me.
I see.
So I went and represent Asia and basically went in the hunt to become a Porsche factory driver.
Right.
So ended up being third, two other
Okay.
guys in front of me, and the guy that won the year was Matteo Carielli. So he drives for Manta and Porsche now.
Oh,
So it's definitely like core memory for me. It's the furthest I got up to the motorsports
right.
pinnacle, and in terms of how far I got. At the same time, also the most disappointing because I was 2 guys away from a Porsche factory drive.
Yeah.
So
So, how would you say racing has shaped you into an individual today?
I'd say a lot. It at the early age, it teaches you a lot about life. It teaches you, even though you're the best at something, it is still one of the hardest things to do. So, I guess it teaches you every time you get knocked down to stand back up. That's the biggest thing race taught me.
I see.
Yeah.
So, the next bit is beyond racing. Who is Alif without the helmet?
Yeah, so took me a while to figure that one out.
Yeah.
Running the workshop business and running the car business, it sort of put me into a leadership role.
Right.
So it's just like being a race driver in a team. The direction of the race car, which way to set up, what to do with tires, everything's being dictated between the driver and the engineer. So between all the businesses, it's the way I look at it is kind of like my relationship with Khalif. He's the engineer, I'm the race driver. So yeah, I mean, it's just translating the stuff that you used to work for motorsports and try to apply it in everyday life. And because we have a really young team, I take it quite personally to be like a leader / older brother role to everybody that works around us.
Yep.
Yeah, so to have a very tight-knit family-based group. Yeah.
Understood.
So I guess, yeah, I mean, that's my new pull after coming out the race helmet. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, was it difficult in terms of like leaving that identity behind for you?
I don't say like just leaving it behind, but it's just more like putting that on a pause. We come back to it maybe at a later date, we'll see.
Right.
But now it's just different priorities in life, becoming a father of 2. It's more concentrating on the other bits of life right now,
Yeah. I mean, that's quite inspiring because as someone who's coming off of his retirement, my own retirement from competing, or like you said, putting a pause on it for the time being, it's like watching someone that's doing it already. And for me, that gives me a lot of courage to do what you're doing because trying to step back or even to say the word retirement for me is difficult, right? It's like you have built an identity. Similar to me, it's like, hey, you've built this skyscraper, right? And this huge tower called Jason Chua or Alif Hamdan. And only for you now to like, okay, it's no longer there. So what's next? There's always something that you're just putting your entire being to. So I mean, I believe that watching you throughout the years and knowing you throughout the years, you're someone that puts his entire being into doing something. Like there's no such thing as something in between. It's all or nothing. So now that you no longer have that sort of like race to focus on, like what are you now putting that sort of energy, the sort of focus, sort of drive into?
Well, for the moment, it's developing the two businesses that we already have. Knowing me for so long, Jace, you've probably seen me where I'm thin, I'm fat, I'm thin, I'm fat. So it's trying to find balance amongst life and the things life throws at you. So the other thing that I wanted to do was concentrate more on my health and wellness, longevity and things like that. So through the years of hard training and like doing some crazy stuff, trying to get fit and strong for racing, I'm just looking at the different paths to basically improve my wellness and well-being.
Right.
So that's kind of a little bit of the drive right now as well. Yeah.
Can see that. And just for context, we are working right now together again after a decade-long reunion.
Okay.
We're back again to being coach and basically trainee right now, right? So to say that his transformation is remarkable is something that I believe words cannot describe in terms of the speed and, of course, the dedication that this man put into his transformation. Like from literally someone that looks like your typical average dad bod to like now looking like Rambo, essentially speaking, right?
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's amazing. Of course, there's been a few things that we're also doing also as well in terms of like hormonal management, training, the diet. Like it's literally to say, idiom, leave no stone unturned kind of situation with Alif when he set his mind to something. Like, and I truly believe that this year is just the beginning. I think so. We've just only really started in November last year to this year, in April. So it's about 6 months in right now. I think so. We're also aiming to compete a few times this year and to see where he stacks up among the big boys.
We'll see.
And aside of that, right now in front of everybody on social media, we have committed to 20-inch arms.
Yes. Well, we'll try. We'll see you get there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, now, if let's say right now, I'm just going to ask you this question, right? If you were to define in the theme of what we've called our podcast, Drive to Success, what do you think your drive is? You know, some people it's the accolades, some people it's the passion, some people it's the just desire to prove people wrong. What do you think drove Alif Hamdan to be where he is today?
Well, I'm a bit of a technical geek, so that's why I kind of, had the workshop business and the modification of cars and with racing and engineering behind the race car, and now with what we're doing together with biohacking and stuff like that. I truly enjoy breaking the engineering behind something down and then sort of figuring out which pieces work best with each other to create this synergy, if you like.
Right.
So that's why that attraction to modifying cars, to creating the best race car setup, to creating the best body. It's just the same sort of lingo, if you see, type of thing.
So you strike me as someone that's very detail oriented, right? So like from the moment like you have started coaching me in recent time in November, I was quite amazed with already how much you knew. Like there are, I would say, even people who have competed that I know of that perhaps not have the wealth or depth of knowledge that you have. Perhaps you don't have practical experience, but in terms of reading up or watching podcasts to catch up with the information, you're quite advanced in terms of this. So would you say that it's like you view life in terms of goals is like projects?
Yeah,
projects by projects?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the best way I could put it. Like, yeah, I really like to project manage certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and doing it a certain way. I think
Right.
the best way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's very meticulous in the way that I see you work, right? In terms of like knowing how things work is something that you're always curious. You have a very curious mind, the way that I look at you right now. And I think so that is essentially that your formula to success was that you are, how would I put it in the right words? Yeah, it's very unique.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly.
yeah, I think growing up, Dad always goes, never accept everything for what they are. Always question everything.
Right.
I used to get in trouble in school a lot because I used to question the teachers to the point where they're like, "Hey, you go see the principal." Like that lah. But it truly, it's how do I get stronger?
Right.
Can I get stronger? How do I get faster?
Right.
Are there things that I can do to get faster? So these are the questions you ask yourself. You'd be surprised
Right.
how fast and how much you can improve if you keep asking these questions.
Okay. So right now I'm just going to ask a question for the future generation of perhaps people that want to follow in your footsteps in terms of being a professional racer. They're looking up to you. And if they're here right now, what would your advice be to these young folks?
I'd say the best thing to do is to get two things. First, get a good driving coach, like get the best driving coach you can afford have access to. Second thing is you need a race manager.
Right.
The race manager is the one who's going to help you look for sponsorship, look for funding, try to organize your racing weekend because it can be interesting. Example, you're racing in China, something breaks and you need to buy tools. You need someone to be able to speak Mandarin and go off to buy certain tools, right? Example. So these are the two most crucial things I'd say, like for any young driver, because without a good driving coach, he will eventually pick up bad habits that are hard to discard. And then at the same time, no matter how good you are, when you run out of funding, you run out of funding. So it's it takes two to tango. Yeah.
So what ruins potentially driver's career in terms of like attitude?
Generally, it's one or two things. What I've seen is the lack of discipline, or the lack of discipline, where maybe they can't be focused, or maybe they're focused at the younger years, 16, 17, 18, but maybe come 19 they discover girls and their attention goes elsewhere, you know, things like that.
Right.
And again, like I say, it's weird for it's hard to grasp for a teenager to grow up not having partying weekends.
Yeah.
Because essentially all race drivers are like this. Yeah.
Okay. So what's something that you realized you were chasing that really didn't really matter at the end of the day over the years? Was there anything like that?
Worrying too much about people's perception of how good you are.
I see.
That used to be like a big thing for me.
Right.
Like I used to get out my way and do things to make sure that everybody knew that I was fast. But in the end, it's not so important in the sense that 15 years later, no one remembers my fastest laps. No one remembered when I qualified P1, for example. So it's like being less critical, that would have helped my mental state more.
Right.
Being less critical.
You were someone that very self-critical, would you say?
Mainly because of how I started, right? I completely fluked my first race into podium, and then how do you go from there? You know what I mean?
But that's really interesting. Why do you think you fluked it?
I don't know. I mean, it's just like, because no one does it, right? No one goes first race and podiums it, and I did it 3 times my first year.
Yeah, but some of the
So the first time was overall podium amateur.
Right.
The other 2 times was podium overall, bro. Like I was
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
racing
yeah.
the guys ahead.
Right. But why don't you think that you were deserve? Is this like, for example, no, because when you think of some of the greats in racing, right? I mean, they had really great rookie careers themselves, right? So what makes you feel like you don't deserve to say that that's your skill, that's your talent? What made you unable to accept that sort of statement to yourself?
That was a good question, man. I mean, I guess at the time, I took it a little bit like stolen valor because I didn't think I was supposed to be that fast.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
So why I say I fluked it is racing against the best in the world. I kind of know how far I am against the best in the world. So,
Right.
you know, on the same car, same place, obviously they've got 10 years of experience. At the time I had 2. I found myself within 0.3, 0.4 of a second within the same car. And, and that's sort of the gap that just stayed.
Right.
Yeah.
Understood. No, because look, I can comment because I'm not a professional racer, and neither am I a racing fanatic. But just knowing you on a very personal basis, I wouldn't call it a fluke. You know, like you definitely, in order to even be there in the first place, you had to have a certain level of skill, and of course, you had to be someone that's skillful, right? So I think in some sense, you just have very high standards, I think, even for yourself, the way that I look at it. Like you sort of put that sort of pressure on yourself. And I think that's sort of what makes you among the best, honestly.
Well, thanks, dude. Appreciate that.
Honestly. Because the way that as your coach, I see there's just this sort of drive that a lot of people don't have. Like, you're one of my most, if not the most dedicated client or trainee I had in my career. Like, even from back then to now, a lot of it has not changed. It's just that your priority now has changed to being the most jacked man in your life.
Well, we try to look good and we try to look good.
Yeah. Let's just go into something different right now, right? Which is Apex. So for the uninitiated or those that don't know, the title sponsor of our podcast is Apex, which of course is a partnership between Alif and Khalis, which we see an amazing background behind us. This is Apex Autocars, and perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about the business. What's the conception of this?
Yeah. So towards the later part of the years of running the workshop business, an opportunity came about for us to be an AP holder around about where COVID struck. Obviously, the world stopped. We put a pause on that idea, not saying no, and we revisited that idea in 2022. And so when we revisited the idea in 2022, I went out, met up with Khalis, and I'd be like, hey mate, you're a journalist, I'm an ex-race driver. Hey, there's this opportunity to start a car dealership. Do you think you want in? And I think at the time, like where we stand today, Khalis was also looking at that change, because I think back then he had his media company and he was doing journalism, and I think he was in that for 10, 12 years. So he was just looking for a breath of fresh air, if you like. So he jumped on the bandwagon and we tried to start this.
Right.
Yeah.
How's that journey been so far? Was it difficult starting at AP?
Well, it's definitely not been easy. It's been challenging.
Right.
But alhamdulillah, we're on our 5th year and we're grown exponentially from what we were originally.
Yeah.
It was very difficult because it was a very closed group business thing. Like, I don't know another AP holder or another car importer.
Right.
So, early days, me, Khalis, and another mate, Edmund, we had to go to Port Klang, figure out how to take out the car. So, so huge learning process. So we took maybe a year to just import personal cars to figure out how the system worked. Talk to other dealer friends, and then we ventured out and hand selected the cars that we wanted to sell. So
if you could say, what is the defining difference, or what's this specialization of Apex compared to, of course, the numerous other APs out there, in your point of view?
No, I can't speak for the other AP holders, but what separates us from the rest is what I see. There are a lot of corporate people selling cars out there,
Okay.
where we're actually car fans, car geeks, car fanatics
Right.
selling cars. So the love, the knowledge is very different to what a normal car person would have. You know what I mean? Apart from the
Right, right.
statistics and what you read from the boards,
Right.
we have a more intimate, personal connection with the cars.
Right, definitely. I mean, of course, I had the pleasure of spending some time with Kalis, and in the short period of time that I spent with him, first of all, he's an amazing storyteller. I would actually pay him to read me bedtime stories to sleep, amazingly. Yeah, he's got that sort of like really nice, soothing voice. At the same time, very fatherly. I don't know how to put it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the way that he talks about cars, the way that he sort of like puts it out there, it's very passionate. You can feel the love from him, you know, in terms of like the business itself is it's not just a business, it's also both a passion and a business for him.
Yeah.
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 So I can see why you chose him as a partner, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, part of the reason why we kind of jive together is our favorite cars are Porsches, and we really didn't know until we got close a couple of years ago, and then it'd be like one thing led to the other, and we had so many similarities.
Of course. So now that's what I want to ask.
Yeah.
What do you love about a Porsche?
So going back to the early days of racing, my driving coach, Earl Bamber, he told me the hardest car to drive and master is a Porsche.
Oh.
So Alif, if you want to find out if racing is for you,
Right.
drive that.
Okay.
Because if you master that, everything else becomes easy.
I see.
So that's kind of why we went into this whole Porsche thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So aside from it becoming difficult, what else about the car that you love?
So entering Porsche, knowing that it's a very difficult car to master and handle, we jumped in the deep end and we tried to figure things out. So as I get more in time, as I understand the machinery better and better, it's quite apparent. Porsches, compared to other makes and models, I believe Porsche is one of the few models out there that's technically perfect. Technically perfect. Like, you could not fault one thing.
Right.
And it's incredibly robust in the sense that I have not, in my 5 years of racing Porsches, had a Porsche fail on me on circuit.
Oh.
If I had the Porsche fail on me, it's because suddenly the wall moved and I hit the wall. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
The only reason.
Yeah.
But I've never had a mechanical issue, no failure.
Right.
Ever.
I see. Like, in terms of like we were talking about the crashing into a wall and stuff. I forgot to talk about this, about the segment of your career highlights. I should have mentioned it earlier. No, because I know those crashes, if he's told me, but I want you to share that story, like some of the most crazy accidents that you had. Maybe you can share some to the viewers.
Yeah. So I think my first boo-boo, it happened at Sepang. For people that don't know, the Porsche Cup car is an instrument for young drivers to jump in, to hone their skills to become a professional driver. So Porsche literally made that car very difficult to control.
Right.
So that's why you kind of, if the guy wins in the Porsche, he can really drive.
Yeah.
So I think I remember my first whoopsies. It happened at Sepang on practice.
Right.
I locked up and I just hit a car, and the other car I hit, he ended up being very good friends, and we hang out for years to come. So it was a very rude introduction to a mate, but that's how we met.
Yeah. And there's another one where you were sent flying. Can you tell that story?
Yeah. After I actually retired racing, there was a team from overseas that came to Sepang for testing. They needed a driver, so I was free at the time. I took the job. And I think on my third or fourth lap coming into 10:15, we were doing like 240, 250 kilometers an hour. You press the brakes, it was nothing. Like, as if you press the clutch, it was nothing.
Okay.
And then you could basically, from there, you're just a passenger and you just try to shed speed and, like across the sand or whatnot. But eventually we hit the wall.
Right.
The car did like a tumble in the sky. I don't know how many times, but I think we flew 100, 150 meters behind the wall. It hit the building behind the tire wall. I managed to survive. I broke a clavicle.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, man. Like, there's always this thing whereby people say, like, when you're in like a life or death situation, time slows down, and like
It did.
Did it?
It did. It's like suddenly when we get to hit the wall, that last 50 meters, it took forever. It's like no. It's like that. It's like
crazy.
That.
Yeah. So that was like some. That's crazy, man. There's like a story they can tell forever, right? So yeah, I mean, going back to our initial conversation before we deviated, which was the brand Porsche itself. Like what's your favorite car? I mean, favorite Porsche of all time in terms of models wise?
Like for me, it'll be the older stuff.
Right.
Purely because how I like to drive Porsches in the real world is I like to drive it around like mountain roads,
right,
tollgate roads. So what I find with the new modern Porsches, they've made those cars too good on the circuit, meaning to be good on circuit, they got really wide.
Okay.
So the second you get really wide on those smaller B roads, the car's filling up the tire from white line to white line. You can't really take a racing line.
Right.
So for me, I prefer 997s. That'd be my favorite. Just like the one behind us.
Right.
So for me, every generation after this slowly got bigger. So for me, this is kind of the most modern and dainty model out of them.
Right.
Yeah.
I see. All right. That's I'm hoping to start my Porsche journey with Apex soon. Inshallah, within this year, I will get a Macan or Taycan. I don't know yet. We'll leave it to the experts to choose for me. Right.
All right.
And of course, before we end this segment, I would really like to ask a few more closing questions. For someone who's feeling lost in transition, like perhaps what you shared with me when I was lost, right? What would your advice be for them?
I'll just go back to asking your core values. Like my dad taught me growing up, you always have to decide what do you want to do in life and what do you want to contribute in your time on earth. So, like example, my dad, he was like, he wanted to live comfortably, he wanted to make other people happy, and he wanted to live an honest life. So for me, it's repeating those things, but at the same time, for me, it's about working with other people, building something greater than yourself. That's always been like a big thing for me.
I see.
Yeah.
So the last question, but not the least, what does success mean to you today?
Well, success for me today, it means that you can balance both professional and personal life and focus on the more important things. Yeah, so like for me, at this moment in time, it's no longer lap times and race wins. It's developing businesses, making sure my kids end up going to the right schools and stuff like that. So slightly different priority right now.
Right. Okay, so this just came out of the top of my head. Let's make this a time capsule, right? So if there was a message that you want to tell your two children right now, what would it be? Because someday they'll probably come to this episode of the podcast anyways. Right there.
Listen to your parents. If I wanted to say, I'd say something like, be honest with yourself. Don't do anything for anyone else but yourself. And be honest. These are probably the three things I tell them.
All right. So thank you very much for the first edition of our Drive to Success podcast. And inshallah, we will have many more episodes that are upcoming that we can share not only the stories that we have, but of course the stories of others. And do make sure to follow us on all social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, of course YouTube, subscribe to us, turn on notifications. And if you've got any more questions for Alif, perhaps for another revisit episode into who Alif Hamdan is, perhaps you guys can leave a comment and Alif can personally answer it, or we can reserve it for another episode. Till then, thank you for watching the Drive to Success podcast, episode 1.
Thank you.